Hey guys, this worksheet graphic organizer helps conceptualize what we have gone over in our notes and videos and activities on macromolecules. And what I like about this chart is that it helps organize specifically what each category and macromolecule consists of. So one thing that I want to start off with is each one of these four is a macromolecule, okay? And macromolecules are made up of the 6 essential elements of life, and they are what provides energy and structure for our bodies. So there are 4 macromolecules: carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and nucleic acids. All of these have some or all of the following elements: carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, and sulfur. That's why I say CHNOPS a lot, okay? So those are the essential elements, okay? So what we're going to start off with today is we're going to break down every individual one of these macromolecules and help lay it out in a way that we can not only memorize it, but also compare and contrast between the 4. So 2 of these 4 actually contribute to the energy. The other 2 do very different things within our bodies and cells. So the 2 that contribute to energy are carbohydrates and lipids, okay? So these are energy, okay? These provide energy for our bodies, okay? And what we're going to start off with today is carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are nice in terms of helping us understand which elements are in them because we can break down that word. Carbo, okay, that sounds like carbon, and hydrate sounds like water. So the essential elements in a carbohydrate are carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Okay? Every single one of these elements have carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Carbon is the essential element because every single macromolecule contains it. So the next thing we're going to go over after we've gone over the elements that are in carbohydrates are what is a monomer. So monomers are the building block of polymers. Okay? And polymers are what makes up each one of these 4 things, or these macromolecules. The monomer is the building block, like the Lego brick. The polymer is like the Lego house, what those monomers put together make up. So the monomer of a carbohydrate is a monosaccharide. For carbohydrates, typically if a word ends in ose or saccharide, we know that it's a carbohydrate sugar. Okay, carbohydrates break down into sugars. So the polymer would be a carbohydrate or a polysaccharide because multiple monosaccharides put together. But carbohydrates break down into sugar for our bodies. Monosaccharides would be one, or the monomer of a carbohydrate. The polymer would be polysaccharide. And remember, poly means many, so that means 2 or more. And 2 monomers of a carbohydrate would be a di, as in 2, saccharide. So remember, mono means 1, poly means many, di means 2. Okay? So the monomer is actually a monosaccharide. The polymer would be the polysaccharide. The function of carbohydrates in our body. The reason why it can be really dangerous to eliminate carbs all the way out of your diet, which by the way is nearly impossible because most things do have carbohydrates in them, is because it provides the immediate energy source for our body. Okay, this is quick energy because it's sugar. Okay, so the function of a carbohydrate is the immediate or short-term energy. Okay, immediate or short-term energy. And examples of this are things like bread, pasta, and fruit, okay? There are some vegetables with carbohydrates in it. A lot of things have carbohydrates in it. But the more sugar in it, the more carbohydrates are in it. And remember, carbohydrates are important for us because they are short-term energy, okay? We either use it or it's going to turn into something later. So carbohydrates, short-term energy, broken down for you. Now let's move on to what lipids are, okay? Lipids have the word lip in it. So I want you to remember that lipids are another name for fats, okay? Remember, Kylie Jenner has fat lips. So when you think of lips, think of fat, okay? Lipids are very, very, very similar to carbohydrates, but they have a different role in terms of energy in our bodies. So lipids also have carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, okay? The difference with lipids is sometimes they have P, okay? Sometimes they have phosphorus. We'll come back to that. But notice how both of them have carbon, both of them have hydrogen, both of them have oxygen, okay? So I wish there was an easier way for us to break down what the monomer of a lipid is, much like with carbohydrates. But the monomer of a lipid, you're just going to have to remember, is a fatty acid and glycerol. Multiple fatty acids and glycerol make up a lipid, just like multiple monosaccharides make up a carbohydrate, okay? The function of a lipid is long-term or stored energy, and it also makes up that cell membrane or that phospholipid bilayer. That's why, guys, sometimes we have P with lipids, because lipids make up that cell membrane. Remember those pictures that we had? It looked like this. We had those tails and heads, okay? These are the heads. These are the tails. Hydrophilic, hydrophobic tails, okay? They make up that cell membrane, and that's where that P comes from because of those phospholipids, okay? And they are found in fats, oils, waxes, and a big one that a lot of times we forget, steroids, okay? Steroids. All right, now we're going to move on to the two that do not give our bodies or cells energy, but rather have a different important role. So let's go ahead and start off with proteins, okay? Again, proteins also have carbon. They also have hydrogen. They also have oxygen. Proteins have everything but the P. They also have nitrogen and sulfur. So a way to remember this, everything but the P for protein, okay? So chons. Chons. Proteins are made up of amino acids, okay? We're going to get into this much more in our later units, but amino acids are those building blocks that make up polypeptides, or those peptide bonds, which ultimately make proteins. We have a whole unit called protein synthesis where we're going to really hit hard on this. But for the sake of this unit, you need to know proteins have these elements and are made up of amino acids, which is the monomer, okay? Proteins have a lot of important roles. They help with immunity, so they help keep our bodies strong. They help with functions and structure, like with muscles. They also help with chemical reactions and enzymes. That's a really important one, okay? So proteins help with structure, functions, enzymes. I want you to start enzymes just like we did steroids, and chemical reactions. And if you're struggling with enzyme graphs, remember that below this section in this module, there's an enzyme video I made describing that. And where are proteins found? They're found in meats, nuts, and seeds, okay? So proteins do not provide energy. When you have a steak, the steak protein is not what's giving you energy. It's the fat, or that marbling that you see in a steak, and also the carbohydrates found in that steak. Last but not least, we are going to talk about nucleic acids. And we're just going to touch on this because we actually have a unit that is all about nucleic acids, okay? Nucleic acids have everything but the S. So again, they have C, they have H, they have O, they have N, but they don't have S, they have P, okay? So everything but the S. Okay? The monomer of a nucleic acid is a nucleotide, which will really hit hard later. And what is the purpose of these? It's for storage of DNA and RNA, heredity, and genetics. So it's what's going to be passed down, okay? And examples are DNA and RNA. DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid, RNA, ribonucleic acid. If you are struggling with this, come and see me. Don't hesitate to ask me any questions. Thanks, guys.